even getting a telephone connection. But now we have very often to address problems of plenty also. We have so much of food grains, whether it is rice, wheat, how to dispose them of, how to store them. These are some of the challenges we have to adapt ourselves. And of course, the uncertainty which is there. Very often we were trained to address situations of risk, a situation of risk where you can have some assessment of the probability, how often you will have drought, how in case of cyclone, what is the probability you can get some alert. But there are uncertainties when we had, for example, COVID-19 or suddenly war arising somewhere. These are the uncertain situations which our competencies need to make us prepared for facing those situations. Moreover, upskilling fosters innovation and creativity within the system. When individuals are exposed to new ideas and perspectives, they are better equipped to design solutions that are both practical and forward-looking. It also promotes a culture of excellence and professionalism, where learning becomes a lifelong journey rather than a one-time phase. Because when we have this lifelong journey of learning, because it is not merely as things change so often, it is not merely we learn something new, we need to of course learn something new, but also we need to develop in the process of this lifelong learning the ability to learn. I think ability to learn is also as important and possibly more important than learning itself. Because you should be always curious to know something. Because I remember even the last few years, every day one learns something. Here some of the secretaries are here. I can see Arvind Srivastav is here, he is Revenue Secretary when he was in PMO. Very often I used to ask him so many questions on finance and so many things because every day there is scope to learn. And that's why this learning, continuous learning, and now it is much easier with this iGot platform and because the technology can help us. In this context, it has already been mentioned that the importance of technology and the ability to understand and use technology well is becoming increasingly important in governance. And most recently, of course, only last 2-3 years, the AI has become very, very predominant, and it can shape service delivery, data use, decision making, and grievance redressal. It may also have been not only as a technological development but as a means to serve citizens. And the way it will develop, the way it will emerge, it will be very, very useful, very, very helpful. At the same time, there can be many other adverse effects also which we need to be prepared, and that can come through continuous learning. This makes capacity building in AI and continuous learning in this area especially relevant for the future of governance. In fact, this year's learning efforts during this Sadhana Saptah reflects this in a much broader way, that this focus has been on AI, and that can help us learning many things about AI, learning its advantages, disadvantages, and limitations as well. Because when we use AI, we need to be also conscious that there are certain deficiencies, certain limitations also. My colleagues from civil service training institutes are also here, though most of them virtually. Civil service training institutions shoulder the responsibility of training and nurturing government employees, standardization and quality improvement. CSTIs is imperative. CBC has introduced the standards for CSTI for addressing this need. I am told that currently there are 200 institutions which have been accredited also under the framework, and 8 institutions have achieved the 5-star rating. This is also a new area. It is an innovation that we need to also focus on quality of civil service training institutes. And today, the initiatives which were launched today, they are also extremely significant. We need to look into collaboration and partnership of training institutions. The training institutions had been working in silos. 2 training institutions, even though located in the same place, would not collaborate with each other and share their available resources. Our clear focus has to be on bringing the quality improvement, and training institutions and their collaboration and partnership should continue, all of them should continue to strive for excellence. Some time ago, a program of training institutions in Delhi was also organized, I think about 2 years ago. That was a very good initiative, because very often we have central level, state level training institutions who have the capability, but if they all join together, if they collaborate, their own output can be much more optimal. Friends, different categories of government employees have their specific training needs, from fresh recruits requiring foundational knowledge to senior officers needing strategic leadership skills. Modules for differentiated training intervention need to be worked on. Building on the foundations already established, we need to take this to the next level. Because when we talk about training, it is not just imparting certain things and replicating everywhere. We need to understand the needs, differentiated approaches. They are also very important. While training equips civil servants with necessary skills and knowledge, it is the mindset that determines how effectively these tools are used. The spirit of service is equally important for citizen-centric governance. Good governance is reflected in whether the citizens feel heard, treated with dignity, and served with responsiveness and care. So our focus has to be on nurturing committed, empathetic, citizen-centric, and forward-looking individuals who can truly serve the nation. This is also again very, very important, the mindset, the attitude. I think that is very often much more important than probably one's competence also. In the olden days, I remember in the management schools, they talked about 3 types of skills: technical skill, then social skill, and the third one was diplomatic skill. They used the word diplomatic, not exactly a diplomat. Technical skill at the junior level, you need to be technically very competent. For example, an assistant engineer he needs to be very competent, thorough in his work. But once he rises higher, he becomes a superintending engineer. It is not merely his technical knowledge, but his social skill, in the sense he had to get along with people, not only within his organization but outside. And of course, at the higher level, it is the diplomatic skill which needs, you have to understand the larger perspective, the external factors, whether you interact with officials, non-officials and others. So that, because this type of these types of, I think it is, these types of skills are very necessary, but on the top of it, more than these three skills, probably one's attitude and one's mindset, that is also very, very important. I have seen people, because I know one of our batchmates, she was extremely brilliant, very, very intelligent, very good grasp, and I had a very good personal one-to-one relations with him also. But he could never succeed in any organization because he will not get along with people. Because when I was always amazed how such a brilliant person will not be able to get along with, succeed. And it was possibly something to do with one's mindset, and possibly those days Capacity Building Commission was not there to, or somebody like Dr. Bala Subramaniam is not there to motivate people. But this is extremely important when we talk about capacity building, because how you get along with people, that makes a difference. Because somebody can, in a discussion, somebody can get into very, very animated argument, discussion, and try to always say that he is right. But even if one is right, how to take the group along, how not to say certain things, but at the same time stick to one's view, and how to get people around and come to the same conclusion as one would like to reach, that is also possible. And these are some of the things which Capacity Building Commission need to look at. And the last thing I would like to say, that whatever we do, we always find there is some scope for improvement. I am confident that these reforms, all the releases which we made today and all the efforts which are making, that people will always like to improve upon what they have learned so far. And it will pave the way for an agile and future-ready civil service, instilling greater faith in the citizens regarding policies, processes, and capabilities of civil services. Today, new initiatives which have been launched, capacity building of the frontline functionaries across center and states and UTs through learning modules have also been taken up. And the capacity building of frontline functionaries also extremely important, because ultimately they are the people who are the interface. Before I close, I'll give another example of how this capacity, because I remember just after the Gujarat earthquake, which was one of the most devastating earthquakes, where 14,000 people had died, huge destruction, and about 2-3 lakhs houses had to be rebuilt, but mostly, of course, in rural areas. In those days, the idea was that we should build what is known as build back better, and we must not again build same way, because future earthquake can also come. So that time, a lot of orientation programs were organized for junior officers, for others, even for masons, because when some building is rural areas, also even urban constructed, an engineer may be knowing the technology, but the mason is the person who puts the bricks and cement and all that, and very often the mason who is more experienced may not take the junior engineer also very seriously. He feels he knows more. So some training of masons also that helped. We didn't realize for a long time, some World Bank team, they visited some of the villages. And they were surprised, and we also were surprised when we learned, because they met some people in the villages, not educated women, old women also. And they could explain to them how they have made the house earthquake resistant or cyclone resistant. Like those are simple houses. You have to put, to make it earthquake resistant, some type of reinforced steel or some type of foundation, or to make it cyclone resistant at the plinth level, lintel level, and roof level. You have to have some type of simple tying of those structures. So they were very surprised, and we were surprised, but the satisfaction was that the whole concept has already been ingrained into the thinking of the people whose house they were. They themselves were, of course, this approach was not to build through contractor, but something called owner-driven approach. The owner will be the person who will be at the front line. He will be helped by others. So that type of, I think, change is required at the front line workers, the masons and others. If they are motivated, if they are also competent or they have the competency, they can also encourage people to do that. And that's how all our objectives can be achieved on the ground. I finally congratulate the team, Capacity Building Commission, team I got, and of course the entire team of all the people who are organizing this learning week. It is imperative for every government functionary to make the best use of such opportunities, available resources, and keep upgrading and upskilling. And finally, all of us should continue to participate in the journey of lifelong learning and keep on improving our not only knowledge but also the ability to learn. Thank you.